always do. Um, Makes me
We
feel
are
better
live.
anyway. We're live.
Yes,
Hi,
we are.
everybody.
Hi,
We were just
everyone.
talking a little about Nick has a show on Mondays. Did you say at 1 o'clock Central, Nick?
Noon Central, 1 o'clock Eastern, called Palin Talk with Shane Urich. It's over on Banner and Backbone. And we ended the discussion talking about space, and the James Webb Telescope and the cool images that it takes compared to Hubble, and how the only reason we have the ability to do those things is because of basic research that is funded by the government and taxes, and it's a service that our taxes provide. And one of the things you should be demanding of your senators and representatives at all times is that they maintain the services such as NASA, because those are the only way we get things such as James Webb Telescope or Hubble or any of the missions that we want or any of the cool tech that is now less expensive. It's because of the government.
Yeah.
Sorry on my
And you
rant.
guys, it's an exciting week in space, too, because I was just listening in the car the other day, and two black holes collided, and it's the first time they've ever seen it. And I believe they watched it with the Hubble telescope. I'm not sure about that, Nick, but I just found
We
it. It was
looked
4 days
into
ago.
We looked into it a little bit because I think I saw you or somebody mentioned
It
it.
was me.
It was you. You mentioned it, and um, we then talked about it just the because it was so awesome, like
So
that
cool.
like these things are happening. And then we were able to show the image of like what it looked like, or like what they don't have any like direct images of it, but they showed we showed
The
the
artist
time lapse.
rendition.
No, we didn't do the artist rendition. We actually did the gravitational wave and like the black hole colliding, like little
Yeah, I saw
video
that.
that they had, and you see them merge, and the energy spike, the gamma wave,
Spike
the gamma
up.
radiation that would come out of that is incredible. If those are the event that causes would literally, if you get hit by the radiation wave of that, your galaxy is, or star cluster or area, is gone. Like it's dead. It's burnt out of existence because that radiation burns things out of existence.
Nick, now I
Red,
understand why you've got all of the Star Wars stuff behind you.
do you know what
I
red
love
point
space.
is? You guys, when that happens, the energy is so intense that it just turns red. I think it's called red point, and then it just turns black because our brain can't even like look at it and understand it. It just turns red and then black because it disintegrates when they interact like that. It's totally wild. It's called red point, I think. My son and I were just looking at it earlier. Anyway,
Cat?
super neat stuff that we're not getting that news because we're all inundated with all this bullshit that's going on in the administration. We're not getting
Cat?
cool news like this.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm seeing so many new names. Thank you, Nick. I think you're bringing in some crowd. Maybe we should just quickly say who we are. And first of all, thank you, Nick, for joining us. I was a guest co-host with Nick on the show this morning on this show called Sick Show,
Yep.
which is, and well, I guess I'll let you talk about it in a few seconds, Nick. But Kat and I have met on Substack. We want to be involved in the growing community that is fighting for humans in general and democracy, because we're seeing this as a global thing. I live in Quebec, Canada, and I am a French-speaking Canadian, which is why I have an accent. And Kat is in Houston, Texas. So we call it the North meeting the South. And Nick is in Arkansas. Sorry.
No, it's
And,
okay. The French accent is hard on
Arkansas,
Arkansas.
girl.
Arkansas.
Yeah, you
So
gotta have that twang. You gotta have that weird
Arkansas.
southern thing, and it's actually illegal to say Arkansas in Arkansas. They like
Arkansas.
Arkansas. You got to say it in the back of your throat.
Arkansas.
But I'm not
There
from
you
Arkansas
go.
originally.
That was perfect.
Okay. So you want to talk a little bit about you, Nick, and then Kat, I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Nick Paro, host of the Sickest show. do a podcast which I need to catch up on episodes for, which is called the Sickest Pod. And I write poetry. I'm a
Great poetry.
veteran, a tech survivist, and deconstructionist, um, chronic illness sufferer, which is something that I'm working on doing, hosting a show with Soso about, and really just a concerned dad and citizen who's just tired of being um, sit upon all the time, and gaslit into believing that we have to be terrible people, and that the only voices in spaces for white people specifically, um, are shitty, no good, just awful human beings. And I wanted to change that, at least on a men's side, and help be a part of that. And I don't want to see my country die. So,
Okay.
um, I lost my job a couple months ago, almost about 3 months ago, or maybe a little longer now. And um, I came on here, started writing poetry instead of going down a rabbit hole of mental health, and depression. Um, uh, I wrote poetry and started connecting with people and talking and letting it out. And then I found out that I really enjoyed it. And so, yeah, so I've been here since and I'm building it up. So anyone want to come on, be a paid subscriber with me? I'm doing a sale right now for 50% off your first year. Um, if she doesn't mind me saying it, because I tagged her in all the posts already, is Soso is one of my founding subscribers and a great friend of mine, both on and off the network. Um, she, I thank you. Like, thank you for doing that and being a founding sub with me. She's
If
part of
I
what
had
I
more
call the
money, I
sickest
would
of
be
all.
founding. I'm sorry, I'm
No,
broke right now.
oh no, you're fine, Kat. Don't do that. I'll be
I
around for
would
a
be a
while too.
founding
So I'm not
But
going anywhere. But I appreciate y'all. And I also host um, and a co-founder of with Frederick Pogue and Lawrence Winterman, the Banner and Backbone Media Network, which is a civic-based publication and network here on Substack that we are rapidly growing and building to restore ethics, service, and integrity in the restore integrity, service, and ethics in the American system. Um, and yeah, I'm from Arkansas too, also, because
Kimmy,
that's where
oh,
I'm
look,
at.
Kimmy's here. I love
Um,
Kimmy from Arkansas. And Dimitri, I'm so glad you guys are here.
so
You guys,
yeah,
if you haven't checked out Nick and Banner and Backbone, please do because Frederick and Lawrence were the first voices that I was attracted to when I first came here in January. So I'm so happy that like my favorite voices have gotten together. And speaking of, you guys missed today. Lev had on Dr. Hassan. If you guys don't know, Soso and I are both psychologists. We both have our masters in psychology. So
used
we're
to be.
pushing.
I always say it because it's important because being a psychologist is a licensed title. So
Right.
if you
We're
are
not
not
licensed.
licensed anymore, but we do have the studies and I did practice for 8 years. So just saying.
Yeah. And I used to do like psych profiles for the court. So,
Yeah.
what I like to do with politics is sort of approach all of these people because a lot of them are disordered, and this is disordered thinking. When we're involved right now in psychological warfare, this is fully dictatorship coup business. Where half of our country is receiving false information, and it's constant. And the reality is that our corporate media has. I'm calling it this week. They're dead. I cannot believe the Charlie Kirk coverage. Personally,
I mean, I can.
Congress's vote against the Epstein file wasn't covered.
Yeah,
It just dropped into the Netherlands.
but you know
Neverland.
what? Like Lev said, like Michael said, like Jojo said, is if we don't stop talking about it, it doesn't go away. So keep talking, and it keeps in the news cycle. Like if we don't let it go away, then it won't go away because we'll keep talking about it. And if they want Charlie Kirk's name to live on, then let it live on in infamy on their side by releasing the Epstein files because that was his last wish. He advocated for it. I don't know if it was his last wish or not. That's making it up. But he advocated for it on Megyn Kelly's show, I believe it was, and she's a horrible bigot too. But they were calling for the release of the Epstein files, so release the damn Epstein files in Charlie Kirk's honor. And
No,
let's do the
we
Charlie Kirk gun
were
reform bill.
you were so funny. I was going to say we were both on with Zev Shalev when they were reporting on the Kirk shooting, and Zev went on to his Twitter account and read his last post, which was from September 7th, and it was all about releasing the Epstein files. I went back to look at his Twitter 3 hours later to take a snapshot of that post. It was down.
Oh, I bet it was.
Mm.
The family probably took it all down because they were either asked to
Exactly.
pay in a very large sum of money, um, or they were asked to by threat. And that's really the only two options that is left under authoritarian dictatorship like that and on a cult of personality.
Y'all, but it wasn't he being paid by Russia? I mean, like he came out and he admitted that he was getting funding
No,
from
it
Russia.
wasn't Charlie Kirk, I don't believe. I know, I think it
Okay.
was Theo Vaughn was,
I
but
know
I'm not,
Theo was a couple of them.
don't quote me on all
Rogan
of
might have
them.
gotten some money.
But as far as I know, it wasn't Charlie Kirk specifically getting money from Russia.
Okay.
I don't want to spread any false narratives around
I
Charlie.
don't
He
either.
already
That's
has
why
some
I'm
shitty
asking.
enough
I think I've
things.
said it, and then I'm like, I better check into that a little.
Yeah, like
So,
he's a bad enough person. We don't need to make up things about him. He's got
Good
plenty going for it.
point.
He went down the golden escalator into a really hot place. And he's probably finding out that it's not fun.
I personally, Jesus's whole word is empathy, and when he said that he doesn't believe in empathy, I was just like, then how are you preaching
yeah,
the Bible?
exactly.
Like you're
Yeah,
in the wrong religion, dude. Wrong
yeah.
religion.
He wasn't Christian. I mean, he called himself Christian, and
Yeah.
the faith system that he subscribed to. So I guess he was Christian,
Yes.
but he wasn't Christian by what true followers of Jesus would consider Christianity. And I think that's where
Right.
we need to start making the differentiation is like, what is Christian or nationalist Christians believe, I think is very different than what actual Christianity is. And we need to give them their official name of Nazi and keep using it. Because that's what they are, is they're nationalist
It's neither
Christians.
Christian nor nationalist. Yeah, it's a misnomer.
Yeah.
Like
Actually,
communism.
It's just like the National Socialist Party or the Nazi Party claimed
Pretty
socialism and utilized atheism at the time or a views, same way that our current regime is doing to consolidate power. It doesn't matter the flavor of belief system that's on top of it. It's a culpability tool. It's a propaganda method. It's psyops. It's using the Ash experiment that Kat, you and I have talked about before.
Yeah.
And controlling roughly 30% of the population at all times.
Yes. You guys, I had the craziest revolution. I just had talked with Nick and Sosa about this right before we came on, you guys. But I've been thinking about accountability lately. Accountability is weird. It does invoke a flight or fight response. It really does. There's only a couple of things you can do when accountability is demanded. You can either be accountable or you blame the other aggressively, right? So it's fight or flight, right? You take you take responsibility, or you blame aggressively the other, or you become completely paralyzed, right? And in denial. And that's what we're seeing. That's the third. That's the third, Nick. So a third is paralyzed, a third is mad, and then a third is being accountable.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
And
This is really an interesting fact.
I want to address a quick comment that somebody left in the chat because I think it's an interesting one that I've actually talked with Tyler, who's a friend, Jacob Summers, one of my other co-hosts and good friends, that he and I have had before on my Nazi show that I do every Tuesday and Thursday with Lisa Joy, is there was a comment that said they're not Christians, they're white nationalists. Well, yes, they're white nationalist Christians. They call themselves Christians. And I'll push back on your comment like I did in the comments was we can't call Bibi and the Israeli government officials then Jewish if we're unwilling to call the Christian nationalists or nationalist Christians who are in charge of our country Christian. If we're unwilling to
Good
if
point.
we're unwilling to call them Christian, then we cannot call those in Israel committing genocide and a possible, and I mean, a Holocaust against the Palestinians, we can't call them Jewish, but they are. And that's what we need to call them. We need to stop giving them the freedom to push back on Christianity that way. Is if you don't think they're Christian, prove it. Show them that they're not Christian, but don't, but like use their teachings the way they're using their teachings to hold them accountable. Like,
I
it's not
agree.
anti Semitic to say that Bibi Netanyahu is a Jewish fascist. As I said in a show earlier today, and I want to start coining Abrahamic fascists, because that's what they truly are, is because,
And Netanyahu it meets all the criteria for antisocial now as well. Both
and
him and
Stephen
Trump
Miller,
now have really turned with this power. Their behavior has escalated for sure.
I have
yeah,
seen a meme. Did you guys see that meme go around? Like all the problems that I mean, it sort of says the problem, the world is going. There's something going on in the world right now, which is pretty bad because of three older guys in their 70s hanging on to power. Like we
yeah.
talk, and in a sense, I mean, I feel like, not just a feeling that we have these people that have a certain age, have seen many things, their culture being, I wouldn't say threatened, but definitely, this is all about how do you adjust to change and how are you resilient to change? I mean, if you look at them, what do they have in common, the three of them? They want to gain, they want to retain something that they saw as this is all nostalgia. It's like it's like you're almost living in the past. It's like you're not able to adjust. And what do you
And
do then?
fantasy.
Well, they're regressivists, so they have to live in the
Yes,
past. They're
exactly.
not they're not conservative because conservative implies that there's something you want to conserve, like and
Right, which
protect
that's
and
not happening.
defend and uphold. That's what a
But they're
conservative.
using
I'm a
that as an
conservative.
they're using that as a it's like, sorry, I'm getting tired too, Nick, so I'm trying to
No,
find my words in English, but they're using that as an excuse.
yes.
It's like they're gathering a lot of people just using language, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is exactly what they want. It is social manipulation, I find.
Yeah.
Social
It's
manipulation
psyops.
of different groups.
It's propaganda and it's psyops. It's a military technique to PSYOPs is psychological operations, which is the perfect thing to discuss with two prior psychologists and two individuals who know what they're talking about psychology and doing research into psychology and practicing psychology. This is a psychological operation, and in the military, they do this against civilian populations to manipulate
Yeah.
the populace to one specific point or another, or need or another, or view or another to get their country's agenda across. We're seeing
Absolutely.
the results of all of our internal security systems being let off the hook and being unwound so that the propaganda becomes one and the same as our own national rhetoric, because they're not able to be discerned or discernible because they're the same rhetoric. Like Trump
Yeah.
is witting or unwitting as he may be in involvement with Putin. I maybe he's
This came
unwitting
straight
because he's
from
kind of
Russia.
stupid, but whatever it is, like he's smart enough to know how to latch on and hold on and gain power. And he's maintained it his entire life. And he's done it really, really well. And as evil as he is, he's done really good. He's done a really remarkable job at maintaining and gaining a further grip on power. So let's not relieve him of
Yeah.
culpability. But
Well, the
it's
guy
all
is smart, right? He was a key.
yes,
He was an operative. So all that you're describing, psyop. I mean, he definitely learned the basic of psychological manipulation and how to use, I guess, all of that. He's just, I mean,
it,
obviously he's smart. He's just using that. I
it was
mean, it is
probably a
so
Hold on.
wrong.
I
survival.
have
It
to
was
speak at this
probably a
moment because I meant to
oh
say
yeah,
this earlier.
Go
I,
ahead,
I
Kat.
wanted to give a plug because Nick and I were on there. I wanted to give a plug to Lev and Dr. Hassan. Both Lev and Dr. Hassan believed that they were in cults. Well, Dr. Hassan was with the Moonies. He was in
he
a full
was in a
blown cult.
cult.
That's a full blown cult. And he came out the other side. So it's very important to listen to these people because they've gone through it and they understand what goes through the process of changing your thinking. I was just talking with Soso. I believe that I finally just recently became unbrainwashed with this sort of thinking. I was writing a book several years ago about cultural narcissism in America, and I believe that we have a culture of narcissism. But anyway, I grew up with this thinking, and what it is it's these lies and this denial. It's part of our culture. I mean, you deny when someone else is lying about their beliefs. Like let's just say, well, this is the reality. Like my family, certain members of my family are racist. They would
Yes,
never use a word like the N word or anything like that, but they're completely racist, right?
Mhm.
But I would never talk about that or expose their racism to others. And, so I'm in turn keeping their weird secrets. And I've gotten to this place that I'm just like done. And it's because of Trump and realizing how I grew up. And I was just, this is so backwards and insane. And I just can't do it anymore. So I sort of get it when you pop out of this like weird thinking, like you're just like, what the hell? And you feel stupid. And then you're like so upset for all the other people that are still over there because you know that they're going to eventually be like, oh my God, I've supported America's Hitler, you know?
Like,
yeah,
honestly, Kat, I feel that this is, people that were, all these people that we're following, okay, I really admire what they're doing, but sometimes I find that they don't see the big picture. Like, they just focus on
Yeah.
they're blaming, oh, it's because of the corp media, it's the mainstream media, da 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 da. And then we're like, we're
It's the
good, we're good.
Democrats.
We're doing the same thing. We're like putting ourselves in a category, It's like, oh, I'm an independent journalist, so therefore I must be better than all these corps. But you're still trying to make a living, right? And I'm sorry, this is my opinion. I think this when you start talking about um just more like in terms of if you actually study like educational terms like sociology, psychology, and you're just you're going further. If you're actually this is all about social
Anthropology,
science,
archaeology.
Exactly. So if you are actually if you find yourself interested into making a difference when you actually try to have a critical thinking about this whole situation, I find that it's so important to go back to the basic of um, what about, because what you're describing is a concept called cognitive dissonance. And I know you know what I'm talking about, right?
yeah,
How you felt cognitively, like what you were
Yeah.
thinking was so
Full
different
blown.
than what you were experiencing when you were in a relationship with your family. And so many
Yeah.
people are out there, even in Canada, it's like they are being put into a situation where they don't necessarily agree. They're discussing ideas, but how can you discuss dogmas, when we're talking about I mean, I don't want to blame religion, but at the same time, religion is based on belief. And I have just finished my post, by the way, my article about religion, beliefs, and facts and science. And I think it's so important to kind of like go back to that just basic message of what about just communicating um like terms that is not, I mean, if you agree to disagree, then you'll try to meet in the middle. But right now it's
Yeah.
just so much categorization. It's like it's either black or white. And
yeah.
I believe that, and I don't want to talk about him because I don't know him that much, but what he was doing, this guy there who was assassinated, Charlie Kirk, that for me, that is an example of cognitive dissonance because he was
Yeah.
like, his behavior was like, okay,
Totally.
I'm going to go out there, I'm going to open, the conversation, and then he would be like going out there, like, meeting youth in universities, which is, I find it's a good behavior. You're going out there, you're opening up the discussion. But when
Right.
it came to ideas, I mean, it's
Well,
like
let's
if
also be
something was.
honest.
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead,
No,
Nick.
go finish,
Go
finish,
ahead, Nick.
please. I interrupted.
I know, but I guess I'm trying to say is in his own behavior, he was not, um,
He's doing the
there's
opposite of what he's preaching.
what's the word?
Totally. I mean, he's spewing hate and he's saying he's a Christian. I mean, it's complete hypocrisy.
There was
Let's
a
call it what it
dissonance,
is.
Yeah.
it didn't add up. And this is why I find that when you study any kind of social science, you end up trying to put up together facts and opinions, you know, are what we think of something, and thoughts, I mean, you can't touch a thought, it's something that you talk about. It's through language and communication. But I find that we have to use better communication skills to actually talk to each other. And this is why I find, and this is where I plug our show, Cat. We are getting together to connect because we want to encourage people to talk, but not end up eating each other and trying to basically, I don't want to say save this planet because that's so ideal. Okay. I mean, but
Captain Planet. It
we want
is.
to
It
work
is to
together.
save the
We want
planet.
to live together. We don't want to be just, anyways. You
Yeah,
know what I
This is
mean.
no, and it's
nuclear, you guys. We've got nuclear powers here. This is the world at stake. It
well,
is.
to me, what I've figured out in all of this is, especially because I've had some conversations with some people recently, and I won't disclose who, anything about the individual other than I'm saying he. Um, and so he and I had a discussion around the Charlie Kirk event. Um, he didn't know anything about Charlie Kirk beforehand, but he heard very glowing things about him, and some very glowing sounding commentary, which is all lies. And that's the propaganda we're fighting against is people are coming out of the woodwork and saying things like, oh, Charlie Kirk was like the right MLK. That is what they believe. That is what people believe, and that is a psyop. That is what we're fighting against. That is why when I talk about Charlie Kirk, I always include the fact that he was a bigot. He was a terrible human being. He said shitty things about so many people. He hurt my community. I'm in the LGBTQ plus community, whether
I'm
I'm in a
listening.
heterosexual relationship or not, which I am. I'm happily married and have a wife, but I'm in the community too. I am, I guess, bi or pan or somewhere in between because it's hearts, not parts. And I love my wife because of who she is as a person, because it's
Yeah.
about her personality and her personhood and who she is to me
Beautiful.
as my best friend. To them, it's not. That type of viewpoint is weakness and disgusting. And Charlie Kirk was a bigot and a horrible person. At the same time, just like JoJo said, just like all of us on the left have said, just like Lev and Michael and Zev and Dean and all of these people that I've talked to, Waj have said, even as much as we criticize Charlie Kirk, it's not about it's it's about the fact that he was murdered.
Yeah.
Nobody deserves to be murdered. Nobody
Exactly.
deserves to be killed just for speaking an idea. I don't like Nazis. I'm Jewish. I don't fucking like Nazis. I don't like Abrahamic fascists. I don't like Abrahamic Nazis like Stephen Miller, because that's, I guess, the best definition of them is it's a mix of Christian
Abrahamic
fascists
Nazi.
or
But
Dude,
Abrahamic
you just
fascists.
labeled that correctly.
They're
can I ask
Abrahamic
you something, Nick?
fascists.
Can I ask you
I
something, Nick?
need to skip.
Because, like right now, if you think of Ukraine, and
Yes.
Ukraine is being invaded by Russians, okay? So
Yeah.
there is propaganda with Russian that are saying like we're it's a special whatever military
Operation.
operation, and we are going to fight Nazis. So
Yes.
they're calling European Nazis. Well, I'm saying European, but Ukrainians. So it seems to me that when we start giving names, like name calling, and I'm not saying it's wrong, by the way, but
Yeah.
if you're saying this group, they're all Nazis, they're all fascists. I mean, I find, this is just my opinion, but I find that it stops right there. You know. So how
Yeah.
do we define Nazism and fascism then? Because sometimes I find that it kind of, and I'm not judging you, by the way, I'm not judging
No,
anyone.
oh
I'm
no,
just
no, I
saying,
love it.
I'm trying to find what if it's part of the problem in terms of communication skills, right?
Well,
So,
no, I totally agree. One of the things I talk a lot about is reframing arguments.
yes,
And so, like, maybe you're right. Maybe calling them Nazis isn't the right thing. I'm going to keep doing it for now until I find a better word. Because the thing is, as much as I don't want to call them names, they're bullies. They're doing
bully
everything. They're
is a good
bullying.
term
They're
because what
Touche.
bullying everyone.
I agree, but
Bullies.
because bully is the behavior, you
Yeah,
know,
it's a
you can't
behavioral
find,
problem.
and
So you can change.
you
Good
can change
job,
the behavior.
so.
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
a
And
all of
behavior can be
this
changed.
all of these things are learned behavioral problems. Like they are
Totally.
learned behavioral traits that can be unlearned. If they're in a
Unlearned.
cult, if they're truly in a cult brain can be untaught and unlearned. I don't hate the people who are in the MAGA movement. I don't hate the majority of the people who are on the right. In fact, I don't even pity most of them because they've been lied to and a lot of them have bought into the lie willingly. But I do empathize with them because they've been manipulated their entire lives into believing this and indoctrinated through propaganda, through hate speech, through Russian intervention and church movements into the far right Catholic side of the church using the Russian Orthodox Church, the infiltration of Russian media and Israeli talking points, and the far right fascism that comes out of that side. The problem is we don't have a better term for it other than fascism right now.
Yeah.
And
It's
I
like
think,
communism. Communism's a complete misnomer. There's nowhere that's
yeah,
actually practiced communism in the world,
yeah,
besides like agrarian societies, probably.
it's more
Hey,
a
but I've got a
fault of
question, Nick,
language.
since you're here. And Dimitri's talking about it too. That I've got that there's some Jewish people in here, and I would, and you were talking about the other day. I'm super curious what you guys think about Netanyahu and Stephen Miller now that are carrying out this sort of genocidal agenda that this was just occurred to Jews 80 years ago. Like, what in the world do you think is going on psychologically with the need to do this to somebody else that's been done to your entire race? It's mind-blowing to me.
I mean, I'm not a psychologist, but I am a studier of human behavior, and I have training
Mhm.
in human intelligence collection and interrogation. So I understand like human psychology and like speaking pattern. It's one of the reasons I can connect so well with people. I understand how to talk. And
I
I
know.
learned the fundamentals of actually how to talk to people as a practice for my training in the military. And it took me a while to really internalize how to all do all of this stuff. And I've gotten a lot better as I've gotten older and more mature.
Me
Um,
too. I
but
feel
it,
like now that I've turned 50, it's way easier. Okay, go
yeah.
ahead.
Um, but the thing is, there were Jews in Germany who voted for Hitler. So
Mhm.
that we cannot, because they also said, oh, it can't get that bad. So there is a history of people voting against their own good, because they've been sold a bill of lies, because there was a lot of propaganda and a lot of disinformation that went out in the public before the election. This was probably one of the most uh, foreign influenced elections that the U.S. has ever had. Like
Mhm.
just based on the number of bots and trolls and things that were out there and the amount of money Russia spent in our country that we saw and they made
Yeah,
public, that this election was not safe, because it was
I
flooded
agree.
with disinformation and propaganda. And it's very harmful to be stuck with all of this propaganda all the time. Can you re-ask the question I got? I my
I know,
I
it's
got
been a long
started.
day. I know, you guys. I was just like, it blows my mind
Oh, how?
that
Oh,
Jewish
yep.
heritage
Yes.
people are
Yep.
engaging in this behavior towards others.
Well,
I just
okay.
I
Let's.
can't.
Okay. This is
I
actually
kind of know,
something.
but go ahead, Nick. I
Yeah.
have a theory, but
Um.
go ahead.
I have a theory too.
Well, so let's take a look historically at the Jewish uh, group, the Abrahamic tribes. They're very warring for their prehistory. The God of the Old Testament, the God of Judaism, is the God of war from the Zoroastrian faith system and killed or beat out the pantheon of other gods. So he's the God of war. And the the walls of Jericho came a tumbling down is a euphemism or a metaphor for
Right?
the armies of Israel slaughtered the people of Jericho and made the walls come a tumbling down. There's
Hmm.
also a reason there are no Zoroastrians in the world, aside from very, very small pockets in place like the Uyghurs in China. Outside of that, you don't really find them because the old
That's
early
true.
Jewish tribes wiped them out to consolidate power as a group, as a kingdom. That's how you gain power. It's how the Islamic nations and the Ottoman Empire gained power. It's how the Roman Empire gained power. It's how the Holy Roman Empire gained power, all through violence and consolidation. So there's a history of violence there.
Hmm.
Plus, when they founded Israel, they sort of just threw the most extreme of the Zionist group into Israel anyways, because they were the ones who wanted to go there. Um,
Yeah.
and then they were like, hey, by the way, oh Palestinians, you have to give up your land to these people who are very extreme about
What?
wanting to found a ethno state. Um, and eventually that leads to hate. And over time, Israel and Russia have been very close on expats from Russia to Israel. The majority of the Israeli population is either Russian or American Jew,
I hadn't
um,
thought of that. That's so
on
true, Nick.
purpose.
Hmm.
It's on
I had
purpose
never
too.
thought of that. You're right.
Those are the two countries that they go to. And it's also
Yeah.
how come they have such close ties with spy networks and with information sharing networks
And
that,
Mossad, yeah, it
yeah,
seems like Mossad is sort of
it's
working
all
with,
cross-pollination.
yeah.
The birthright trips that they encourage Jewish kids to go on, to go to Israel is a psyop technique to get you to want to join the cult and join the society and become part of Israel. It's pretty much the most extreme who end up going there a lot of the time. I'm not saying all of Israel is extreme. I'm not saying that so many of them are. I think a lot of them
There's a
aren't.
faction though.
But there
Yeah,
is a
there's a
large enough
faction,
faction that they lead the government, just like in America, they lead the
just
government.
like in
And
America.
I don't think there's a dissonance because they don't see what they're doing as wrong. They see it fully justified by their
Justified.
zealotry and their bigotry towards what they see as an end times because it's a death cult. They bought into their own nonsense. Like Stephen Miller isn't a new figure.
God,
He's been there since the first Trump administration. He's one of the few survivors of the first Trump administration. And I disagree with Michael Cohen on this, and I would gladly have him on a show to talk about it too, is I think
I
Stephen
do
Miller
too.
is much more dangerous
I do too.
than he's giving him credit for. I absolutely agree with Lev. I I
I agree.
agree
I agree.
with
I
Wajahat
do too.
Ali and Nikki. I forget her last name. She was
I
incredible
do too.
today on his show.
Danielle. Oh,
And
Danielle and Waj together
yeah,
are just
and
unbelievable.
he interviewed a young lady named Nikki this afternoon. I don't know what role she does. She was incredible in what she was talking about, and she was a Miller expert basically.
Hmm.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm dying
And
to see.
yeah, so watch one of Waj's shows from earlier. It was really good. But more people are starting to talk about it because he's the shadow president.
Hmm.
I
He's
tried to do a
really the
psychological
co-president.
profile on him. He's a very complex person, and yes, It's his history's a little odd. It's odd.
Yeah.
I couldn't
His
figure out if
family, I've done a little too. His family is out of Pennsylvania. I won't
Mhm.
dox them anymore. That I won't put out like what town they're from, other than what's already available on the internet. That's
They're not in
visible.
California anymore, his family?
No, his family might be, but his parents and his family came over from Belarus,
Yeah,
just like my
Mm.
family did during the Bolshevik Revolution in the early
right.
1910s and 20s. Um, and they settled in Pennsylvania. They became a very successful family in a slightly conservative neighborhood and area. They were one of the few Jewish families in their town. They did eventually, the community did grow larger in Jewish communities because Jewish communities stuck together, just like most cultural communities do when they get pushed out of an area, is they stay together. Um,
Mhm.
and they founded a very successful company. Um, they were a stalwart part of the community, so always slightly conservative, but never Stephen Miller. He's always been like this. He's always,
Oh, I've seen I've
from a
seen the
young
videos
age.
when he was a college student of him in the bus, the school bus, and all the
Hmm.
racism that he was just spewing. I mean,
Yeah,
oh, it was
I've done a little bit of a deep dive into Stephen, and I want to talk to, I actually invited Waj to come onto a show, and talk to him about Stephen because he wants to continue to talk about Stephen Miller. Um, And dude's a creep. Dude's a weirdo. Like
He's
he's a
had
fucking creepy dude.
He's
And
a
he
creepy dude, and he's had a lot of success. Again, what I kind of see with all these guys is what happens is they start with this weird sociopathic behavior young. Kind of
hmm
this is what I'd have to look for in the juvenile court. Torturing animals, pushing boundaries with authority figures like the police, or what he did was with his school. He really pushed boundaries with the school and the administration there. He
hmm
also had several friends that I saw interviewed who were Latino that he ended their friendships with because they were Latino, told them straight to their face because they were Mexicans, ended their friendships. He just has increasingly done more and more and more. And when you get success, and then that's when it becomes sociopathy. When you start to get to a point where you're willing to kill other people because you've
yes,
demonized them or
exactly.
belittled them in your mind to the point where they're not human anymore. And I
And
believe that's where he's at.
this is
So that's what
coming
makes him
full
dangerous.
circle, Kat. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you're
No, I'm
talking about
done.
dehumanizing, and it is exactly coming into full circle. I was texting you guys because we were all listening to Michael with Jojo and Parnas that were getting together, and Jojo was mentioning about how it is important to regain our humanity. But in order to regain
Yeah.
your humanity, you have to talk about humanity, and I don't believe that you can do that if you just go on religious dogmas. You have to actually follow some sort of science. We have been building knowledge for years. Now, why are we pushing it all out of the window? Because um, the fact is, this guy, and I have the way that he talks, you guys are absolutely right. It is antisocial because I've seen someone says like it is antisocial personality, and
Full
antisocial
blown.
personality, lack of regards for rules,
hmm
uh,
No
and
empathy.
no empathy, sees other people as a way
Let
to get to their mean, basically,
Means to an end. Yeah.
a
Other
means
people
to
are
an end.
means to
Yes,
an end.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
so
And I'm
I find that
dropping
a lot of these people that are getting together just kind of like get each other because they have the same
They have the
personality
same
trait
disorder.
at the beginning. Right,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, and
So,
it's
And they're
one of
all getting
those
away with
things.
more and more, and they're more and more empowered. So they're like, it's a hard on for power is what it feels like.
yeah.
It's addictive.
It is.
So they're super into it, and they're into it together and they're all in on their secret together. It is like the Epstein thing. It's addictive. It's like doing drugs. It's like partying. Watch the Charlie Sheen movie. I watched it. It's so good. It's just like that. You people in the know, they keep it quiet, they keep you in trouble, they keep it secret. This is addictive stuff.
Yeah, and so like I dropped two articles that I wrote a while ago, or Banner and Backbone dropped two articles into the chat for me. Um, I wrote some stuff on Stephen Miller a while ago, and I want to revisit and dive deeper into him. is what we need to remember is he's not a conservative, he's a radical. He's a radical regressive. And like that's I think if we
Good point.
really want to start giving labels, we need to use the right ones and
Yes.
just stick with them and all use them. Like they're radical regressives. They're not conservatives, they're not Republicans, they're the radical regressive fascist party.
Sorry.
Um and it's truly run in most ways by Stephen Miller or Russell Vought. But
Yeah.
Stephen Miller more so than Vought. He's really the architect and the one who runs all of this, is because Miller, like was being said earlier with Waj and Nikki, was because he's the only one of the only survivors or few that has made it from regime to from administration to
Regime to
now
regime.
regime, is he is adaptable. He's very adaptable in ways that others aren't. He looks out for Stephen, but second to the Trump agenda or to the agenda itself. His
Oh, wait, which one
whole
is looking for Steven? Looking out for Steven?
Stephen Miller looks
Miller
out for Stephen Miller second. Stephen Miller looks out
for
for the
himself.
agenda
Oh, for
first.
sure.
He looks out
Yeah.
for the agenda first, and
Oh,
that's how he
advocate.
survives. Is he's willing to give up his own identity, his own morals, his own ethics in ways that others aren't, and he's very, very aggressive about it. And he's the
Yeah.
one who's enabling the show. He's like a producer almost. He's
Mm,
writing the
good,
executive
good
orders.
analogy.
He's
I agree.
running the series. He's producing Donald Trump, the presidency season 2. That's what
Oh
he's
my
doing.
God.
Yeah,
Totally.
because he was in the first
Totally.
administration, right? He was.
Yeah.
So
But he
he's
didn't have a lot
seen
of power
everything. I
then.
mean, the guy's bright. He's seen everything that didn't work, and he was like, okay, we got all these people that we need to that are pushing against us. Next time, we're getting rid of them. We're
Yes.
only putting in loyalists.
Yes, and if it's not Stephen Miller's narrative, which is Trump's narrative, which is more so the Project 2025 narrative in general, but it is very specifically Stephen Miller's version of that narrative, which is being followed more so than anybody else's. Russell Vought may think he's king or behind the scene playing puppet master. JD Vance may think he's puppet master, but JD Vance is not truly second in line. Stephen Miller is, because
He
he's
is.
already running it. And so that's the terrible thing, because he's the one who's calling right now for civil war and crackdowns. He's the
Yeah.
one who's specifically calling out the evil that must be purged, the
And
evil that
ramping up
must be
ICE.
removed.
Yeah.
Yep. He's the one who targets specific cities. It's where Steven says is where it goes. But as long as he produces the show for Donald Trump, Trump doesn't care.
He's like the
Guys,
general.
I wanted to bring this up earlier. I keep not saying what I meant to say earlier. Anyway,
Go
I
ahead, Kat.
believe, and I wonder what you guys think. I believe that there are some really amazing Russian psychologists that are helping our friends Stephen Miller and JD Vance. I think JD Vance, because of his background, has been completely taken to the dark side with really intense Russian psychologists. I don't know if this is true, but I feel it in my gut because so much of this is so classic authoritarian playbook, classic psychological warfare techniques.
It would
And
be
I just don't
so.
see a lot of American psychologists participating in that because of ethical purposes. It feels very Eastern Bloc to me.
Yes.
What do you think?
I'm not a psychologist, so I don't know, but I do know history, and I've studied Russian history a little bit, specifically around the oil and gas area. I took a
Yeah.
course in college around that, and I mean, it's all Russia is at least right now is based on the whims and the dictates of whatever Vladimir Putin or the oligarchs who are in charge underneath Vladimir Putin say at his behest. And that's about it. It's at
Yeah.
Putin's behest or what makes the most money for them. Yeah, it's old KGB stuff, but they told us they were going to do this. Hey, Ellie. Ellie Leonard's here. Y'all should go follow her. She's an amazing,
Ellie!
amazing muckraker
Thanks
and
for coming
investigative
in.
journalist.
Yes, thank you.
So please give her a follow. Ellie and I do a show on Banner and Backbone consistently together. Actually, two, Ellie's Exclusives and Powerful Voices. So keep a lookout for those shows.
Ellie's doing
See, I
incredible
like
work on the
boosting my.
Epstein
She's
files.
blushing in the background. Like I love boosting my friends, and that's the whole. That's all of this is like.
Me
I
too. I'm
want
a
all of
cheerleader. That's
us.
why I'm here. I'm here
I
to
want.
cheerlead everybody.
Well, I want all of
Yeah,
us to
Ellie does
succeed.
great work, you guys, on the Epstein files. She's been working with the transcripts. There's tons of mistakes in them, and so she's going through it with a fine-tooth comb. It's amazing work that she's doing. Her
And the
and Zeb
Black
Schlev,
Book.
check them out with the Epstein files
Yeah, and all the
information.
and she just finished the whole transcription. I read the page. I think it was
Oh, great,
240.
Ellie.
I think it was 243 in number 4 or 5 that Ellie said to read. That was really disgusting. Um, and to
Great.
keep an eye on. I don't remember exactly what it said, but it. Go read it. She compiled an amazing thing. Um, but like all of this, it's all a psyop. Like it's all a psyop. It's just it's just Russia told us that they were going to do this and take down
Yeah,
America with and instigate a civil war without ever having to have a single shot fired or risking a single Russian soldier in the field.
because they have
Yes, yeah,
psychologists that
Ellie, the
knew
one
this was
where
their end. They
yeah.
knew their end was through the far-right domestic terrorists and the
Yep.
far-right Christian nationalists. They knew this was their end.
It's
What
well
did everybody
documented
think it was
too.
gonna look like? What did they think it was gonna look like when Russia came for America?
Well,
What did they
and
think? It was gonna be nuclear? It's gonna
well,
be this.
let's be specific too. It wasn't just the far right that the Russians infiltrated. It was the far left too. The what the Russian
Project
propaganda.
2025 is what I'm talking about
Yes,
mostly.
yes. The most impactful version and the one they wanted to win was Project 2025 in the right wing, is the far right, because that's the most violent version of people and the most violent of personalities. That said, and the furthest fringes of the left are also equally as violent at times
True.
because
One at times.
they are just as morally corrupt or morally bankrupt and ethically robbed. And so they will do atrocious things too. That
Yep.
said, the extremes, the fringes, they got brought together. This whole making was the extremes coming together, and that's what creates fascism. Like I remember talking about this sometime last year. Middle of last year was like, oh shit, when the left and the right come together on the far extremes, we're about to hit fascism, and guess what? It fucking happened. Um,
Here it is.
my therapist, I go to therapy every week for a group therapy, and I do a private therapist for individual therapy. I do uh,
Dog.
emotional distress tolerance and mindfulness therapies. I got we started getting to less therapy appointments with my individual
I can
therapist
see my puppy.
when he started telling me that what I was saying wasn't catastrophizing and he was just acknowledging that I was right.
Yeah,
And that was a problem. That became a problem because it's bad when catastrophizing is the truth. We
I
have
agree.
to always
Wow.
assume the worst with these people. And so I'm not an oracle. I just read humanity and I just read what's going on, and I learned how to do intelligence reports, and I spent 6 years as a tech developer, and I was a senior DevOps engineer with writing systems and building platforms
I
to
love
communicate
it.
for multi-enterprise support through franchise management and a payment facilitation system and connecting multiple platforms on top of that. Like I've learned how to connect people and talk to people because I've had to. And so all of this is a union of the right and the left on the outside. The center isn't a center. There is no center. There's 30% on the right, there's about, let's say, 5% on the left. I'm going to make up some statistics because all statistics are made up anyways. It's just numbers that that we fudge to get where we want them to be a lot of times.
I'm sorry.
Not
I'm
saying all numbers,
I've
not
got to
saying
rule
all
my
numbers,
life.
but statistics is one of the most easily manipulated mathematics there are.
Yes.
Because you
When
could put
you
in
get
any
into
variable and
research,
get to whatever you want.
you guys, when you get into research, it gets really funky because you'll see who's ethical and who is not very quickly. You can tell
Yeah.
who's manipulated the data and not. But yeah,
Yeah.
it can easily be manipulated.
Yeah.
Um,
So I think
what
what the final part on that was is actually the ethics and the morals that come out of it is this is not a left versus right. This is not a
No,
center. This is a radical unmoral or amoral, unethical movement that
exactly.
we are fighting and pushing back against. We are the moral group. We are the ethical moral group, which means
yeah,
we're shifting the Overton window because we're defining the Overton window. And that's a big concept that some people know about, some people don't. It was a
let's talk about the
theorized
Overton window.
yeah, it was a theorized idea that if you talk about a certain thing enough and you make like you bring it, it's how you shift viewpoints is really what the Overton window is literally
Fire with
you
fire.
yeah, you
Push it.
move the window that they can view from and shift it out of their view a little bit and start putting yours in its place. It's using their words against them. It's shifting the topic back to them. It's the connection I made this weekend with someone who he and I disagree on a lot of different things on politics, not because we don't like each other, but because we can disagree, because we
Yeah.
can have a disagreement that is fundamental, because we have a truth that is centered that people have value. But also, I used their words and his words against their own movement. And after the Charlie Kirk shooting, I was
You have
having a
to do that.
discussion with this individual, and they were talking about the connections with like he didn't know who Kirk really was ahead of time. Some people are
Mhm.
saying that he's like Martin Luther King of the right, which I vehemently disagree with. Um, but it was we connected
Kirk.
on the point. We connected on the point that was you can't trust anything that's coming out of this administration
Right.
because we were talking about, he was like, hey, somebody brought up to me that they're having doubts about what the FBI said. And I said, me too. You know what? He wasn't expecting that. He wasn't expecting me to agree on
Mhm.
that because he would think I would blindly agree, not into it, not like because he means to, but because an unconscious bias would say,
He's been
"Oh,
told.
he's been told that I'm going to come back to him with a view that's probably like, nope, I disagree. The FBI has to be trusted. They found the guy." And I was like, "No, things don't always add up. We also cannot trust an administration or sorry, a regime that literally lies to us on every single point." And I even
Uh,
said, They lie to us about everything." And his response was, yeah, they do. And
And
that's
Nick,
how you
I'm
win them
mad at
over.
people, like, they
That's how
die
you
when I
win them
tell them
over.
I voted for Wesley Hunt. Yeah,
but
I 'cause I'll argue with them like this, and then they just like, "Well, you're a Democrat." And I'm like, "No, I voted for Wesley Hunt. No, this is just wrong. Like, this is
Mhm.
just
It's about
wrong."
morals and ethics.
yes,
Is if we get the politics out of it, because it's still talking about politics, but you're not talking about it as politics. You're talking about it as morals and ethics. Those they
yes,
understand. Those
Hold on.
Christians understand.
Hold on. This is also it has to deal with one of the first things I ever wrote on Substack about the Constitution. If you're being abused, like for me in an abusive relationship, all I had was the law to know what the boundary was. I'm like, I don't give a shit what's going on. These fuckers are breaking the law. Like they were trying to like you made this happen or you're doing this, you, blah, blah, kind of stuff. And I'm just like, no, it was not me. What the hell? And then I'm like, you broke the law. You were wrong. It's so important because laws do dictate our morals. And
Yeah.
Soso and I argue a lot about religion, and because Soso doesn't want to bring it up. But Soso, to me, our in with these people is the spirituality because the spiritual principles are morals and they supersede
that's true.
religion. They
I would,
supersede religion. And to me, my spirituality is so great that my God or whatever the hell you want to call that encompasses all religions. I'm an
yep.
omnist. Omnism, what am I? My son told me what I am. Where I
I'm,
believe in all religions. The things that they all share, that's what I believe in. I believe in physics.
yeah, because it's not
So
about
it
the religion.
transcends.
It's about the morals and ethics that are underneath and the teachings and the practices. And are those practices really
Totally.
ethically sound and good? Like, is stoning people a good idea? Like, should we be stoning
Well,
people in
no, not that.
2025? not like smoking the reefer stoning people, but like throwing stones at them, New Testament stoning people until they either
What's the
die
New
So,
Testament stoning?
or Old Testament, sorry, Old Testament stoning.
I mean, they're still
Um,
stoning people in some places.
yeah,
Sorry, it's just
Yes.
but like
it's
Yes.
pretty bad.
where it's not about the religion. It's less about the religion, and that's why I understand where people are coming from when they say, well,
Yeah.
they're not Christian or they're not Jewish, but they are. You have to come at them from where they are and not where we are. Don't
Mhm.
assume where
Right.
they are. You have to meet them where they're at. And when you do, they
Nick,
realize, yeah,
this is why we have to get in touch with Dr. Stephen Hassan, because we are
yes,
talking about, groups who have religious ideologies, be it, and, sometimes even these people, they'll be so pissed off if you're saying, well, you're in a cult. I mean, that's not the way to talk. I'm saying these people to
yeah,
people
No,
who are, whose whole life are being, their whole life is being basically not told but led by these dogmas,
it's
and
being
then if you
co-opted.
start like attacking the dogmas, then obviously you're attacking the people. So this is all like coming in a circle with this the whole spiritual warfare that she was talking about, the Charlie Kirk's widow, which is
Yeah.
very, very, I find, concerning.
Which is what Stephen Miller has picked up on and is going to use. And they're going
exactly.
to use
Exactly.
this as a martyrdom technique. And I'm saying technique because if it
It's a
fails,
technique.
they will move on to the next. Like that's not a threat of any sort.
They
That is
will.
a prediction. That is a
Yeah.
prediction that I have based on human
But you're
tendencies,
right. They will.
psychological tendencies, history, what's happened before
Well,
in escalating movements, and while they
exactly.
consolidate power, they fight themselves first to purify their own movement. Charlie Kirk was murdered by a right-wing groyper who grew up on Nick Fuentes's neo-Nazi rhetoric and hatred. They
But
hated
do we
Charlie
have
Kirk because he wasn't far right enough. That is the suspected assailant of or murderer of Charlie Kirk. I will
because
say
On.
when
Can
this
we
suspected
get into
happens,
because that is the
two?
law.
Can we
That
get
is
into
legally differentiating.
can we, can we get into Charlie Kirk's roommate? I mean the
Who? I
hell.
have no idea who that
I
person
just
is because
lost
I
his
didn't
name.
follow that story because I was like, oh, they're trying to blame it on somebody else and minimize and
Unbelievable.
whitewash him and do everything that they're doing because that's what we do with white people is we whitewash their fucking behavior instead of having them live up to their behaviors and say, oh, we need to memorialize Charlie Kirk. No, we fucking don't. He was a monster as a human being. We do not need to memorialize
Wait,
Charlie
wait,
Kirk
wait.
in any
I'm
way.
well,
talking about the shooter's roommate. The shooter's roommate on Fox was reported to be a male that's transitioning and that they were in a romantic relationship.
And
And this
so,
is why it all happened.
yeah.
but
And
is
And
it
so
we
is
all know
this
this is
true?
such
Is the
bullshit.
question,
The
why
roommate is
I'm not
cooperating.
why I'm
Um,
not acknowledging what you're saying, Kat, is because I'm not acknowledging their argument. The
right.
thing
It's
is
a
we
bunch of
have to
bullshit.
stop giving into their argument at all and stop giving them the space of our attention on it. Don't
Okay.
ignore them, but we need to stop using their argument for it. I don't care if his roommate was trans. Being associated with a trans person does not make you
Just
trans
pisses
and
me
or
off. Yeah.
LGBTQ in any way. And I know that's not what you
Period.
were saying, but that's what they're associating because they're trying to find a scapegoat for any reason
It
to take the
feels like a
blame off
scapegoat
of.
and an
oh yeah,
out.
it's
Yes,
a
It
shortcut,
feels
a
like a bunch of
shortcut,
bullshit.
yeah, it's
a
any way to
shortcut
It feels
to
like
stop
basically
blaming white
just.
nationalism.
yeah.
I'm sorry,
We're all
we're
talking over
getting
each
so
other because it's the
excited.
same idea. I think we're
There's a
so in
lag too
agreement.
for me. Sorry, y'all.
Um, but like the white nationalist rhetoric behind it, the hate that is being fueled from this, the talk that they use is spiritual. It's demons, it's evil. You're right about needing to talk about the spirituality. But to get to through the spirituality, I think first we also talk about the morality and the
That's what I
ethicality of it.
Exactly,
meant. The
And if we
spiritual
exactly.
do that,
principles that are moral values. Yeah.
and if you wrap it
Honestly.
in the language that they
Wonderful.
understand, use the Bible, continue to use their own words, show
Yeah.
them through the words of the Bible or reframe the arguments so that you're not using their argument. If they're going to ask you stupid questions about, like, oh, do LGBTQ people or trans people deserve rights? You say, I don't buy your argument. Here's a better question. Are LGBTQ people or trans people human people? And if they can't answer that
Exactly.
with a yes, then you say, sorry, we're not having this discussion because you do not believe that they deserve basic dignity and you're not a good person. That is immoral and unethical of you. And we should be calling it out. Don't be
But
mean.
okay,
Just point it
Nick,
out and then
right
move
away,
on.
I have to stop you. I have to stop you. If you're saying you are not a bad person, you're just cutting short the discussion because you're accusing somebody of being not being a good person. Do you know what I mean? It's like you
Yeah.
have to speak when it comes to. I know you know this, but when you come into communication skills, you have to make sure that you're saying I. So you could say something like, "I do not agree because
Yeah.
da 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 da." You know.
Well,
Yeah, I
I
feel
disagree
yes,
with that
you
statement partially
Go ahead.
because they so effectively use you and they and other. And I get
them
that
and
it's a
they.
dehumanizing and othering thing that they're doing. But for us, it's, I think, for me, anyways, it's more of a categorical thing. Is
Yeah.
if you're so willing to other everybody else, I'm going to show you what it feels like and other you, but with the sense that you're still a person. I'm just showing you what it feels like to have somebody throw it back at you without the hate behind it. Like, I'm going to say
Mhm.
it to you and move on. It's not going to bother my day to call somebody a bigot or a bastard or a stunted human being who looks like a penis that's trying to come out of its shell, as in Stephen
Not your
Miller.
penis.
No, Stephen Miller looks like an uncircumcised penis pulling its hood up and just
He
coming out. He's
does.
the
Oh, come
brainworm
He
that
on,
he's the
does.
brainworm that ate half of RFK's brain and left the rest for us to deal with.
guys,
I'm not
guys!
afraid
I
to
have to
say
stop
that.
you, Dick.
So no, but so I say it that way, but I say it at the same almost empathy level and volume that I do about other things like this because it's bullying the bully just enough so that they know what it feels like, and
I
Okay.
then
understand.
and then you move on because I'm not trying to shame or I'm not trying to mock them with it. I'm trying to shame them a little and
You're
then move
giving
on.
them a bit of their own medicine, right?
Yeah.
You guys, what
Sometimes it
I've
works,
been
and
doing?
especially with an abuser, sometimes you have to abuse them back a little bit.
Oh,
Well,
you
what I've
definitely
been
have to stand
doing,
up for your rights. Go ahead. Sorry, Kat.
what I've been saying to my MAGA people is that, are, do you support Putin over LGBTQ Americans? Then you might have been brainwashed. And that seems to really stop them in their tracks and they kind of just walk off and think about it. I've done it to a couple of people. They don't argue back. So I think that that's a really good, like, are you supporting Putin over your fellow Americans? Like, any of them?
Yeah.
You might have
Yeah.
been brainwashed. Like, you should be supporting your Americans. Like,
So
and then they're
so
like, oh, well, yeah.
let's talk about another one that we can easily reframe the issue of is what happened the other day with Brian Kilmeade on national TV on a
Oh,
Fox News broadcast,
Oh, yes.
calling casually saying
not fired.
that we should euthanize, which is a polite
Homeless
way of saying murdering homeless people or murder homeless people. Well,
and mentally ill
here's
people that don't
and
follow the instructions correctly.
yeah, and I want to talk about this for a second because it got brought up in the chat a couple times, two
Yes,
times now. And the first
certainly.
one was talking about it. The second response was he apologized. I don't give a shit if he fucking
I don't
apologized.
either.
Somebody got multiple people have been thrown off air basically from other networks for saying mean tweets about
Washington
Donald
Post
Trump or
editor.
Stephen Miller. So no, an apology does not count. What
No.
happened and this is what I'm talking about, a reframing the argument.
Hmm.
Brian Kilmeade advocated for murdering veterans who the only crime that they have committed isn't even a crime. It's they were forgotten and given up on by society and they live on the streets as homeless people. Brian Kilmeade on national TV on a Fox News broadcast on one of the most watched shows in the country advocated for murdering veterans who live on the street because
That is
they are
so
either
wrong.
homeless or or have a mental illness or some sort of disorder that they have been forgotten and left behind by our society. I am fucking pissed off about it. And
Cohen
no,
was just saying
an
it's
apology,
33,000 veterans are homeless.
33, and you know what number would be an appropriate number? Zero. Zero. And that's what I'm
I
talking
think
about.
that number's low.
It's because it's not about the
Yeah.
fact that there's 33,000. It's that there's more than zero in general. Like, we shouldn't have any homeless veterans. Like, period. Period. Veterans should be the
0.
last people to be allowed to be homeless, but they're one of the first. They're one of the first to be given up on.
I
And Brian Kilmeade deserves to be fired from Fox
Mhm.
News, as well as his other hosts who were advocating and did not
The
push back
Washington
against it.
Post editor was fired for way less.
And
The trans Washington Post editor was fired for less. This is
and
asinine.
they should be sued individually and sued as a network for allowing hate speech
Mhm.
and speech to kill veterans because they are
No fault.
homeless. That is all they did. That's all that these people have committed, is the sin of being homeless. It's a sin in their
Yeah,
eyes to
being
be
poor isn't
destitute
a
and
crime, and
homeless.
being mentally ill is not a crime.
No, Jesus helped the homeless. Jesus cared for those in need. Jesus fed the poor, hung out with the sick and the needy
Flipping tax
and the
labor right now.
prostitutes and those who needed the most help. And we have given up on them as a society. And that is pretty unchristian of them, but they don't care because
Yeah.
Abrahamic fascists don't give a shit about anything outside their agenda. But Brian Kilmeade, this is not over. You do not get to advocate for euthanizing, murdering, state-sponsored murder of veterans and get away with just a apology. No, that's you.
On there.
You, sir, need to get fired. You need to be blacklisted from broadcasting, and you need to be sued because it's irresponsible.
Totally.
It is a disgrace, and it is wholly reprehensible that you would be willing to say that about those who have served both post 9/11, Gulf War, and Vietnam.
He
All
came
three
on
of those.
24 hours later and fully did an oopsie. I didn't really mean that. And they let
Yeah.
that slide
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
with veterans. Where are the veterans? Why aren't they furious?
Well,
Fox
they
watching
are.
veterans should be
They
pissed
are.
off.
They are.
I have
I can
I
tell you
have
this
to
one is.
I have
Are
to
they? Yeah, I
agree.
know you are.
I have
I'm
to agree with
mad.
you,
I'm
Nick
pissed.
and Kat. It's really unfair that on one side, it's like full war on, like, the journalist has to be fired, like the guy from was it MSNBC who was fired, and I basically just kind of said like what he thought about
Car's
this.
down.
Yeah. And then this one is like,
He's over
it's
here now,
much
guys. Follow
worse
him.
what
He's
he's
over
saying. He's actually calling to just say we should, like, just give a shot to these people and get rid of them. I mean,
Mhm.
for me, this is so much worse because you're actually calling out as if human life only has value for what it brings to society.
Yeah.
It's like this person is useless. So this is what I hate about sort of, like what I call feral capitalism is feral.
It is.
Because
It's
it's
feral.
all about meritocracy. It's like, oh, we're going to be a meritocracy. It's like, you have to deserve.
Kleptocracy. It's
Yeah, but
kleptocracy.
we're not all born with the same we're not all born with the same capabilities. We're not all born with the same you know what I mean? It's like it's not true. We're not all born equals.
Also, do you guys know that the Charlie Kirk's bodyguard, he had a black bodyguard and a trans bodyguard. So he himself had cognitive dissonance in his regular life. He had those people in his life protecting him, and then he doesn't support them. What in the world is that about?
I know. And your merit as a human being, and this is something, and this is very personal to me because I'll tell you, because when I say I'm an ex-psychologist and like, oh, what do you do these days? Why are you not a psychologist anymore? Like, you define yourself by your function. Can I just be so a human being who has value? And is it your problem if you think that, oh, you must have failed because you're not in your you're not in your field anymore. You're not a career person. You don't have like papers. It's like, this is why I actually write. I have a master in psychology because I'm like, okay, people will give me more credibility. But this is where I find it's wrong. It's like, why do we give people credibility for their title? And in the end, it's like,
for everything. I've been bastardized for staying home. I would have been bastardized if I went to work. I mean, I'm bastardized for going back into the workforce at almost 60. I mean, come on. People are mad at you for everything you do. Just screw that sort of stuff. It's ridiculous.
So it is hard to start advocating for yourself, when you have to kind of like, you have to manage through all these social pressure. I mean, what is your role? What is your function in a society when all you believe in is this meritocracy? It's like, I mean, a human life should be valued because we are human. And, I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at the conversation, just right. The fact that we have 178 beautiful people with us, listening to us. I find that is
Thanks, you guys. I'm so stoked. This is So Nice largest crowd so far. So thank you, Nick.
Yeah,
for helping us get to this, getting to my bowling score. You guys, I'm sorry, I have to let the world know that I bowled a 198 last night.
Let's go. A couple more people in. We're going to get Kat to her bowling score with the number of folks in the chat. Like, I'm so glad I came on with y'all. Like, I love that. I love that you two wanted to do this and invited me to come talk. Because if you didn't notice, I like talking. But I also like talking about important things.
I think that's where we connected, Nick. I mean,
I'd love to hear everything Nick has to say, and of course, I love hearing everything Soso has to say. Yeah, it is like 5:20, you guys. I guess it's time to go. But I could talk to you guys all day. And you guys, if you guys haven't subscribed to Banner and Backbone, this Nick's new platform. He's there with Frederick Pogue and Lawrence and Ellie Leonard, and he's been coming on with Lev and Dean, and he's invited Wajons. I mean, he's just taking off. And if you haven't read his poetry, it's just magical. Your poetry means so much to me, Nick. Your alliteration is just beautiful, and your political stuff. I just can't. I can't sing your praises enough.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I just want to say thank you both. But everyone all of my subscribers who are here, if you haven't subscribed to both, please subscribe to Cat and Soso. They're amazing. They deserve your subscribes and follows and to support their work. And Waj is coming back on Thursday morning. Thursday's going to be a big day because it's Waj and then Joe Walsh.
Thursday's my favorite day on Substack.
Darn, is it with you, Nick? You mean you'll be with them?
No, so Thursday morning I have Waj coming on for another show.
No, that's what I said.
So Wajahat Ali, yep, he's the left hook. If you haven't followed him, please subscribe and follow Waj. He's awesome. And then following right after, Lawrence Winterman and I are going to be talking to Joe Walsh.
Oh my gosh. I'm so happy for you. This is what I mean when I'm like, Nick's a superstar. He's getting all these people to talk to him. And we're always one person away from these people we really like, which is great. But I won't be able to wait. Yeah, I'll let you know why I won't be able to be there. But I will definitely watch afterwards. Yes.
And we've got some great shows just in general coming up. And then Soso and I are doing a new series on my channel. We're starting one up for chronic illness discussions. So if you have chronic illnesses, please come and join us on Monday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. And we're going to keep our talk going on more chronic illness pieces.
And even if you don't have chronic illness, show up because it's teaching me a lot of empathy towards the people who do, because I have a lot of people with different autoimmune diseases. I've had a couple of friends with RA, and I have several friends in there right now with fibro. So yeah, teaching me a lot of empathy over there. I really appreciate it, you guys.
Thank you, Kat.
I'm glad you come. And thanks
Is there anything else you would like to add? Because I didn't want to cut the discussion short, but I'm like, no. I know it's getting late, and
No,
wanted
other
to just
than,
throw in the
again, I
middle path
appreciate you.
about the Buddhists. We didn't really talk about the middle path, and that's, I think, what we're all striving for. You have the best view from the middle path. We can see it all, right? We're not
Well,
far left, we're not far right, we're just in the middle, doing what's
it's
right for
also
the country.
it's also defining what that middle path actually means.
Good point.
And using progressive values and
Mm.
forward-thinking values to define what a middle path is, and not one that is based on regression.
That's well said.
Good,
my friend.
excellent point.
Yes.
Beautiful articulation.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, guys, so we're off to eat dinner.
Have a great
And
night.
thank you.
Everyone for
Thank
joining
you.
us. We'll see you
Yes.
Thursday at 7, Soso and I, and then please join Nick tomorrow all day. He's on all day.
Pretty much, yep.
Yes. Thank you, guys. The
Y'all
chat was
take
amazing.
care.
Thanks,
Sorry
all.
if we didn't interacted too much with the chat, but I saw that this discussion was going really well, and thank you for all participating. Yeah.
And oh yeah, final call out
Everybody.
with Zev Shalev too. Join him,
Oh.
follow him. He's awesome. I was on with him last week a couple times. He's amazing. Go
Yes,
follow
Zev
Zev.
is a magical dude. Oh, he's amazing. Him and Dean's news is my favorite news for sure. And Lev. Yeah,
The
I love the
5
three of them.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we'll see you soon. Thank you so much. See you Thursday.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate you showing up. Bye.